It is here. The thing we've been looking for months, for quite a while now. The 2022 NASCAR Cup Series schedule has been released. We now know every single race that will happen in 2022, where they will be, and what date they will be. So we are going to look at that today. But before we have to talk about it, Starcom Racing is shutting down its operations at the end of the year. Respect to Starcom. Greatest team of all time. For real, though, I was a fan of Starcom. Love Starcom. They had a lot of heart. They had a lot of love for the sport of NASCAR. It was really cool to see them, and they had some great runs with Landon Castle, Quinn Houff, and, a couple top 15s every once in a while at some of the super speedways, which is so cool to see. But they will be ceasing operations at the end of the year. Tough to see a team like that go. Starcom, we salute you. We love you. Good luck the rest of this year. Go get yourself a win at Talladega. That would be epic. But the real reason we are here today for this video is to look at the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series schedule. There have been a lot of rumors about the schedule. There's been a lot of speculation. Even one thing was confirmed last night that we are going to talk about right off the bat. But we are going to look at the schedule first. We are going to look at every single date and kind of talk about it at the end. We'll talk about the changes to the schedule, what I think of the changes to the schedule, some of the new tracks that are being added to the schedule, and some of the dates that have been moved around, and it is significant. So, the schedule, I'm telling you right now, it's going to look very different than this year's schedule. Right off the bat, we have a big difference. The Clash will be 2 weeks before the Daytona 500 on February 6th. Not at Daytona, not at the Daytona Road Course, but the LA Coliseum, the football stadium that has hosted Super Bowls, the Olympics. It's hosted USC football games, obviously, but it has hosted a number of major sporting events, and now it will have a NASCAR Cup Series race in the preseason Clash at the LA Coliseum. Then on February 17th, we will have the duels at Daytona, the preseason qualifiers for the Daytona 500. Then on February 20th, a Sunday, we will have the Great American Race, the Daytona 500, the Super Bowl of NASCAR. Then we go to the West Coast Swing. We go to Auto Club on the 27th of February. And then going into March, we go to Las Vegas and Phoenix. That wraps up the West Coast Swing. And then we go to Atlanta. That will be the first race at Atlanta with the new surface, the new banking. Everything's going to be different about that track. So that is going to be our sneak peek at Atlanta, our first look at the new track. And then this is the first major change with the track that was already on the schedule. The Circuit of the Americas race has been moved up 2 months to March 27th. Remember, this past year, it was on May 23rd, and it was shortened due to rain. There was a lot of controversy due to the rain. It has moved up a couple of months to March 27th. Richmond is on Sunday, April 3rd. Then we go to Martinsville for the Martinsville night race, Saturday, April 9th. Then we go to Bristol Dirt, Talladega. That is going to be an interesting back-to-back. Then we go to Dover. This is when May starts. Then we go to Darlington, Kansas, and then the Texas All-Star Race. Remember, this past season, the Texas All-Star Race, it was held in the middle of June. They have moved it up to the All-Star Race's normal date, which is the week before the Coca-Cola 600. And they're going to keep it at Texas. We'll talk about that in a minute. Coca-Cola 600 is on its normal date. And then we have confirmed on the schedule Worldwide Technology Raceway, a.k.a. Gateway. Then we got Sonoma, and then one off week. Only one off week this season. Once again, after we go through this, we will talk about every single detail of the schedule and give my thoughts on it. Then we go to Nashville on June 26th, and then back for the July 4th weekend will be Road America. Then we go back to Atlanta for the second date, then to New Hampshire, and then Pocono. Pocono only has one date on the schedule in 2022. Then we go to Indianapolis. I believe that is the road course. Then Michigan, then Richmond. Richmond no longer has a playoff race. Watkins Glen, and then the regular season finale will stay at Daytona. Then we go to the playoffs. Darlington will be the opening playoff race, which has been the same the past couple of years, the Southern 500. Then here's where the first major change comes. Kansas will now be in the first round, and it will be the second race of the NASCAR playoffs. Bristol stays as an elimination race, and then Texas which has traditionally been the middle race of the NASCAR playoffs, except for this year where it will be the opening race of the round of 8 versus the middle race of the round of 8. It will now be the opening race for the round of 12 on Sunday, September 25th. Talladega holds its normal spot. Charlotte Roval holds its normal spot as the second and third race in the round of 12. And then the round of 8. Major changes here as Las Vegas is now the opener for the round of 8, and Homestead Miami Speedway is back in the NASCAR playoffs. It will be the middle race in the round of 8. Martinsville remains a cutoff race, and Phoenix remains the championship race. That's a lot of information for you to process, I'm sure. Yeah, you can look at the schedule, obviously go back and pause it, look at it if you want to, but we have a ton to talk about. Last year we had a ton to talk about. We added a ton of new tracks last year, like Circuit of the Americas, Road America, Bristol Dirt. And we have new tracks this year, but we also have some major changes in the playoffs, major changes in dates. But let's go in order. The first one I want to talk about is the Clash. When this was first rumored a couple of months ago, we talked about it here on the channel. I didn't know what to expect. I really wasn't sure what they were going to do with that, and I didn't know when it was going to happen. Turns out it's happening in 2022. It's not going to be the All-Star race. It's not going to be a regular season race. It's going to be the preseason race. So this is happening a few months from now. Like, it's currently September. We got October, November, December. 5 months from now. Sorry, math is very difficult sometimes. But just 5 months from now, the Clash will be at the LA Coliseum. The plan is to, I think they're like laying a bunch of dirt down over the football field, and then they're putting some asphalt down. Obviously, they can't do too much banking because it would, block the view of people in the stadium. And also, that would be very difficult. So it's going to be a flat quarter-mile track. This was announced last night officially. The Clash will be at the LA Coliseum. It will be a quarter-mile track, as I said. So about 20 to 25 cars for the Clash. Obviously, if you did a regular season race with that, that would be difficult to get 40 cars into the LA Coliseum for a race. I mean, people would be getting lapped on like lap 2. But yeah, it's going to be an experiment, but I'm excited for it. I don't know how the racing is going to be. I don't know what the crowd attendance is going to be like, but I like NASCAR doing these new ideas. People are going to be like, oh, they don't need to go to LA. People in LA don't like NASCAR. Oh, we could have gone somewhere else like with Bowman Gray. Those are great ideas. But in order to go to tracks like Bowman Gray Stadium, to go to other small tracks that we have not gone to yet or have not gone to for 70 plus years, we have to go to some of these big market tracks. Winston-Salem in North Carolina, I think it would get a good crowd attendance because the NASCAR fans, racing fans there. I think that we get a good attendance, but to have a spectacle in Los Angeles, which is one of the biggest cities in the United States of America, that's going to bring a lot of eyes on it. Everything that's happened at the Coliseum in the past. Super Bowls, as I said, which is a big deal in the United States. The Olympics, which is a big deal worldwide. So this stadium has a lot of history. It's got a lot of things that have happened in it historically. So that's going to draw a lot of attention, not just from motorsports fans, but from sports fans around the country, obviously, but maybe even around the world if people know about the LA Coliseum and stuff. The Olympics will be back in LA in 2028. The Super Bowl is actually in LA next year. So this is a big deal for NASCAR to be in LA a week before the Super Bowl and also to have a lot of eyes and attention on it. I think that's a big deal. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's going to be a great race, but NASCAR fans have been asking for more short tracks. This is a short track. So NASCAR fans, the ones that are out there saying more short tracks, but the instant they announced this said, no, we can't do this. What are you doing? I love this idea. I love that they're trying something new. I love that they're doing another short track. And it's a preseason race. It's not a points race. So if it ends up being a huge mess and ends up being a massive failure, okay, don't do it again. And it's not going to hurt anyone. It's not going to be a points factor. It's not going to be a playoff factor. It's just going to basically be a for fun race. Travel costs, people are complaining about that. But I think one of the executives said that there is a potential to actually gain money on this trip from the revenue from the TV and then also tickets and all that stuff. It's going to bring a lot of eyeballs on NASCAR. I love that. Daytona 500, that's the right spot it should be. But then the West Coast Swing, I like that. Once again, being right after the Daytona 500. This year, after the Daytona 500, the Daytona Road Course was added in to replace Auto Club. I personally am fine with the Daytona Road Course not coming back. We've had 3 races there, one which was the Busch Clash, and that was the best race. And it was a short race, and it had some chaos, but the 2 full Cup races, points races, which was 2020 in the fall and then 2021 in the spring, yeah, they just weren't great races. It's a unique racetrack. It's held some iconic events there in the past on the road course, but I just don't think NASCAR really fits with it. It just wasn't really doing great in terms of the racing itself. So I think that's a good boot. It was just a temporary replacement for tracks that were affected by COVID. So I think it's good that it's not returning to the schedule full time. Good move by NASCAR. Then we go to Atlanta, the new Atlanta track. That'll be a neat one. But then the first major change in the schedule with the patch track is the Circuit of the Americas. It is now confirmed that Circuit of the Americas will be back on the NASCAR schedule. Of course, that track was built for Formula One. It has hosted Formula One races for almost 10 years. It's hosted IndyCar races and MotoGP. Heck, I went to the race this year, the NASCAR race. I'm wearing the shirt today just because of the schedule. And yeah, I love Circuit of the Americas when I went to that race. The energy that was there, the crowd that was there was just a different feeling at that racetrack that it made you even more excited for the race, even though you were already excited for an inaugural event. The rain kind of, messed things up, but I still loved it. When cars weren't crashing or flipping over each other or almost, dying, the race was actually fantastic. There were some great battles for the lead between Austin Cindric and Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman. Ross Chastain and Ryan Preece were having an incredible battle for the lead before Truex about flipped over the catch fence. There was some incredible racing in this race. Great action everywhere. If it's a dry race next year, I think it'll be incredible. I think this is great to keep it on the schedule, giving it another chance. Hopefully it doesn't rain. And if it does rain, hopefully it is light throughout the race. But moving it up is a good decision, I think. It will, if it is sunny and stuff, it'll be a much cooler event because if in May, back in May, late May, if it was hot during that race, it would have been really hot. It could have been worse, but it would have still been hot. So I think moving it up to March is a good decision. And remember, that's traditionally where the old Texas spring race used to be. Texas Motor Speedway used to have 2 Cup Series points dates. One was always at the end of March, beginning of April, the other one being in the playoffs. So COTA they took over one of the Texas points dates, but now they're taking over the date itself in that weekend. Richmond, Martinsville, Bristol Dirt, Talladega. Bristol Dirt and Talladega back-to-back. That could be a very chaotic 2 weeks for NASCAR in terms of the playoffs. So we could see Daniel Suarez go out and win Bristol Dirt and then see freaking Michael McDowell win at Talladega. It could be a crazy couple of weeks there. So that'll be interesting to see how those do back-to-back. Then we kind of keep the same thing with Dover, Darlington, Kansas. Texas All-Star moving up to May. Great decision. I attended the All-Star race this year. It was a fun event. It wasn't the greatest race ever, but being there was actually pretty fun. Hopefully they do something different with the cars. Texas Motor Speedway is not my top choice for the All-Star race, and also I kind of want the All-Star race to be rotated in locations, but they're going to keep it at Texas for another year at least. I don't know if that's going to continue to be a thing, but moving it up is a good decision because last year in June, the race ended up finishing under the lights, but the All-Star Open started at 5 p.m., which is the heat of the day in Texas in June. It was awful. It was a fun race. I enjoyed it, but sitting in 100-degree weather, sweating your butt off, and only having a towel and a couple water bottles, or having to get a bunch of water bottles and dump them on you, it's not a fun time. May, it could still be hot, but it will not be as hot as June. So, yeah, that's a good decision to move that up a bit and moving it back to the traditional All-Star race date of the week before the 600. 600 staying the same. That's great. Gateway. I love that they added this track to the schedule. We talked about it a few weeks ago when it was rumored that it was reported that it would be added to the Cup schedule. I love that they're getting a date. St. Louis is getting a Cup Series date. Gateway's just outside of St. Louis. But yeah, I love that they're getting a Cup date. That's a really good track. It's been a good track for the Truck Series, for IndyCar, but that'll be a race I'm looking forward to. I really hope that's a good race. I like Gateway as a track. It's had some iconic moments with the Xfinity Series and Truck Series, so I'm hoping that the Cup Series can deliver at that one. That will be a fun race. That's going to be a highly anticipated race on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. One of the new tracks, I think the only new track in the points schedule. So I think that's going to be a really, really good race. I have high expectations for that race. That's a really good racetrack. I'm really happy that they are finally getting a Cup Series date. So if you live near Gateway, if you're a big Gateway fan, congratulations. Really happy for you. I'm looking forward to that race. Then we go to Sonoma. I wish that would be earlier in the year when the track, all the grass is on the hills and stuff and it's green. That'd be cool. But it's keeping its traditional date. Cool. And then this. This one I have a problem with. There's only one off weekend the whole year. NASCAR has 36 points races. It has 2 non-points races. They are working 38 weeks a year when it comes to traveling and, racing. They are traveling, working on cars at the track for 38 weeks out of 52. That's a lot of weeks. And, people can say, oh, what about the off season? You get time off then. It's not an off season for everyone. The cars might not be on track. They might not be traveling across the country everywhere, but guys are still in the shop working on the cars, developing the cars. Guys are in the administrative, in the team owners. They have to make negotiations with sponsors, even drivers. The drivers still have to train physically. So it is the off season, yes, but they still don't get a ton of time off, a ton of downtime. That's why I have a problem with this. I'm not saying that we need 5 straight weeks of no NASCAR. I love NASCAR. Seeing NASCAR almost every week, every year is super fun. But the fact of the matter is these drivers, pit crews, engineers, team owners, all these people, they need time to themselves. They need time to relax, to take some time off, to not think about racing, to go do something by themselves, and to be with their families. A lot of these team members, they have families, they have children, they have wives. They got to spend time with them. They got to spend time with their family. And this is a busy schedule. We've talked about reducing the NASCAR schedule in the past few years. We have reduced it in terms of time, but I'm hesitant to say this because I feel like it'll get some backlash in the comments, but I think NASCAR needs to reduce the schedule overall. I'm not saying we need to go down to 15 races a year, 20 races a year, but I think we do need to shorten it a bit. Maybe 25 races a year, maybe 30, I don't know, but working 38 races a year, it's a lot for these teams, and I just wish they got some more time off. Like this past year, we had the Olympic break. We had 3 weeks off, which was, I'm sure, great for the teams and stuff to take that time off. But I think we need more breaks in the NASCAR Cup Series schedule, and I think we potentially need less races. So I'm not a fan of only having one off weekend in a 38 race schedule. I'm just not a fan of that. I think they need more breaks, or B, they need to reduce the schedule. So yeah, that's my biggest complaint with the schedule. I just, it's a lot of work for everyone in the NASCAR industry, so much of the year, and I just wish they got more time off. Then we go back to Nashville Super Speedway. That'll be a good one, hopefully. Road America returning to the July 4th weekend. I think that is a really good idea. It seemed like it was a big success last year, so keeping it there for another year to see how it does in year 2, great idea. New Hampshire, Atlanta, Pocono. Pocono losing a date. I love Pocono. I really do. I think it gets too much hate, but it losing a date for Gateway, yeah, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And Alex Bowman continues to kill racetracks. He won at Chicago. Chicago's no longer on the schedule. He won at Auto Club. They're tearing it down and turning it into a short track. He won at Richmond, and they lost their playoff date. He won at Pocono, and one of their dates got slashed. Alex Bowman, what if he wins at Talladega? What if he wins at Bristol or Martinsville? One of these iconic tracks that everyone loves. Dude, people better watch out. But yeah, then we go to Indianapolis. Indianapolis road course race was honestly a pretty good race last year. Hopefully they can figure out the problems with the curbs and stuff, but I'm looking forward to that one. Then we go to Michigan. Richmond no longer has a playoff date, and I understand it. I personally loved Richmond as the cutoff for the regular season finale, but Daytona is better. I think Daytona is better. I think Daytona is the perfect place for that. Chaos. But Richmond losing its playoff date makes sense because Richmond, it can be a fun track. It can have its moments, but it's not the greatest track on the schedule, and it's not the greatest playoff track on the schedule. So I think it losing a date for Homestead, Miami especially, that's fine. That's fine with me. Then we go to Watkins Glen. Then we go to Daytona. I think that's fine. As I said, regular season finale at Daytona is great. Then we go to the playoffs. That first round, I like Darlington there. I like Bristol. I like those two staying the same. Darlington is a great playoff opener. It's the Southern 500, high ratings and stuff because it's an iconic race. It's a crown jewel. Great decision to keep that there Labor Day weekend. Bristol is a cutoff race. Bristol's a great track. It's had amazing moments, iconic moments in NASCAR history. The drivers love it, so I love keeping that date there. Kansas in the middle, moving it out of the round of 8 for Homestead, Miami. Fine by me. Kansas has been kind of hit or miss with this current package. I don't know what it's going to race like with the next-gen car, but Kansas getting into the first round now, I think that's a good decision. The current first round is all 750 package, which is fine. But I think if we are going to have multiple engine and aero packages for NASCAR Cup Series cars, I think that we should have a mix in every single round, like this first round, where we see a 750 track that's not technically a short track, then we have an intermediate, and then we have a pure short track. So I think that's a good combination in the first round. Second round is going to be chaotic, just like it's always been, with a 1.5 miles. This time it's Texas instead, and then Talladega and the Roval. I'm fine with that. I love Texas Motor Speedway. I grew up next to it. I went to races there as a kid. So I love Texas Motor Speedway. I have a sentimental place for it. It has put on some great races, but the fact of the matter is, ever since they changed 1 and 2, it's not been a great track. And personally, I've never liked the idea of it ever since the change being a championship 4 decider. So I like it in the second round versus the third round. Then we go to Talladega and the Roval. That's going to be chaos as usual. Then Las Vegas, Miami, and Martinsville. So the current round of 8 is very similar in that there are 2.5 miles and then Martinsville. But we changed it, and I think this is a massive improvement, if you ask me. Obviously, you take Texas out of there, but then you replace Kansas as well. And I think moving Las Vegas to the round opener, to the round of 8 opener, is a really good decision. It's been a great round of 12 opener. We've seen chaos. We have seen crazy things happen in the Las Vegas playoff race. And I think putting it as the round of 8 opener, the opener for the race to the championship, I guess, I think that's a great decision. So I think that's a good idea there. And then Homestead, Miami, returning to the playoffs. It's arguably the best 1.5 mile track. No questions asked there. That's a great move by NASCAR to put one of their best 1.5 miles back in the playoffs. It used to be the championship date for a number of years, but moving it back into the NASCAR playoffs is a great decision. I love it. I love Miami. So good decision by NASCAR. And then the last 2 races stay the same. Martinsville as a cutoff race is amazing. And then Phoenix is a championship race. I would like to see the championship rotated. Phoenix is okay, I guess. But I like to see the championship rotated every once in a while. So, yeah. But it's going to be an interesting 2022. We got a couple new tracks with the freaking LA Coliseum and Gateway. We've got some major shifts in the schedule. We got Homestead, Miami in the playoffs. COTA has moved up to March. We've got Gateway now in June. And then obviously All-Star Race moves back to its traditional date. So I think this is a pretty good schedule. It'll be interesting to see what happens after 2022, see if they add any more tracks, see if Nashville Fairgrounds gets added. But it will be interesting to see what happens in the future with the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. But as for 2022, I'm excited. What races am I going to go to? I don't know yet. That's TBD. So, yeah. But hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on the 2022 schedule in the comments. But, yeah. Gonna go watch that documentary now that got released today about Michael Schumacher. Hopefully it's pretty good. I've heard it's pretty good so far, so gonna go watch that now.